Nico Resch. You are listening to the Let's Go Devils podcast on the Primetime Radio Network.
Happy Devils Tuesday. This is Game Day Live on the Let's Go Devils podcast. You're live at TAJ Lounge 973. I'm your host, Sam Wu, here with Vinnie, Parise, and Lil Fireboy from YouTube Live, one of our biggest fans coming from all the way from Nova Scotia to come see the podcast as the Devils are taking on the number one team in the NHL, the Colorado Avalanche. Ryan Graves facing his former teammates tonight at the Rock. Vinnie, how are you? How's the food out there in Chicago? Vinnie, your mic is off. I told you not to do that in the text message.
It happens all the time. Yeah, you know that the food is always good in Chicago. Taco Tuesday, very happy about that. For you guys' sake over there in New Jersey, I'm having pizza tonight, as you would probably expect. But, you know, this is a big game. You mentioned it. Ryan Graves is facing his old teammates in Colorado, and he's been playing good with Dougie Hamilton lately. I've liked that pairing, that, you know, putting them back together since Dougie Hamilton's return. And listen, the Colorado Avalanche are one of the best teams ever. They are just so much better than every other team in the Western Conference. I think at one point there was a 14-point gap between them and the second-place team in the Western Conference. That's ridiculous. The Colorado Avalanche are awesome, and the New Jersey Devils have been hit or miss all season long. They either look like the Colorado Avalanche or they look like dog crap. And, you know, we don't know which team they're going to get today, but if they play their game against the Colorado Avalanche, I think they can skate with them. It'll all depend on how they handle, you know, kind of the big four that they got going on there in Colorado with McKinnon, Rantanen, Landeskog, and then Kadri. Kadri's been having an outstanding season, and then Makar.
Phenomenal season.
Yeah,
just
and then
absolutely
Makar on the
phenomenal season. Yeah, and you know, with the New Jersey Devils, Ryan Graves, said earlier in the press conference about an hour ago, you know, comparing Colorado and New Jersey obviously having its problems with the rebuild, but, you know, he felt that, you know, we've heard this thing before that they're pretty close, and I think he genuinely meant it. You're a big Ryan Graves fan. What do you think?
They're sorry, Graves. I don't know.
It's okay.
He's an honest guy. That's one thing that keeps us following him. He's honest. He says what he means. He's just really humble. So what he says is what he means when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? Tonight is look. Devils have goaltending now, for the time being. Nico Dawes comes up from the AHL. He did awesome in the first half of the season for the Utica Comets. Gets called up, emergency basis. I think he's a year or two ahead of schedule. Comes in, and he's been a rock back there in the last, you know, five to six games that he's played. So I think that right now, when you see these two teams head to head, am I expecting a big Devils victory? No, but it can happen tonight. The Colorado Avalanche played the night before.
Yeah, back to back. So they tend to slack off a little bit in the second half. We're hoping for that.
Yeah, and
Graves also tends to score.
We've seen the Colorado Avalanche lose to the Arizona Coyotes. I mean, this is the National Hockey League, guys. Anything can happen in this league. If Jack Hughes has a big night, if, you know, Makar misses on a pass or two that he normally makes, maybe Nico Dawes makes a save on Rantanen or Landeskog that, you know, maybe someone like John Gillies would have given up. Goaltending's everything in the NHL. We've seen that the Devils have won a couple games out of the last, you know, they lost to the Rangers and they lost to the Blackhawks, and those are their only two losses in like their last 6 games or something like that. Like, they've been playing pretty good. They're not going to make the playoffs. I'm looking at the standings right now. This isn't like a Jordan Binnington type of situation where a goaltender comes up from the AHL and, you know, rides them into the playoffs and then they make a deep run. Like, that's not happening this year. They are way out of it. They're 25 points out of 24 points behind a playoff spot right now. But, you know, what they can do is prove to themselves that if you get saves, whether it be from Dawes or maybe Blackwood comes back healthy and good next year, or both, you know, maybe a goalie in the offseason, that's proof that next year you can actually be a competitive team in the Eastern Conference. Because I'm looking at a lot of these teams. How long is Pittsburgh going to be dominant? Toronto has no goaltending to speak of right now. When's Tampa Bay going to fall off? I think Florida's going to be here for a long time. Same with Carolina. But if you get really good goaltending, you're seeing it with the New York Rangers. They're in a playoff spot. They could even, when you have a goalie that good, you can go on a run. And so if Dawes keeps playing well and the Devils get good goaltending in general, guys like Jack Hughes, Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt, they're going to do their thing. And that's exactly what goes on in Colorado. Eventually, they were so bad that year that the Devils won the draft lottery with Nico. They were so bad, the Avalanche, and Joe Sakic was going to get fired, and Bednar was going to get fired, and people were saying Patrick Waugh would have been better. And since then, their guys have developed. McKinnon, Makar, they drafted Makar. Landeskog became a 30-goal scorer. Rantanen's a top player. So lots of good development could come. The Avalanche are like what the Devils are hoping to one day be.
And I think that will happen. I mean, Joe Sakic thought he got screwed in that lottery draft in 2017 when the Devils, got the first overall pick. But he landed 4th overall. They had the worst record in the NHL. The worst record in the NHL with an 18.7% chance of winning that first overall. But that went to New Jersey, who had, I think, 7.5 or 8.5% chance. They drafted Nico Hischier, and right now Nico Hischier signed long-term. He's getting hot right now. I'll tell you who else is getting hot. Dawson Mercer is getting hot, finding that scoring touch. And Alan, you've been networking since he flew down from Nova Scotia. He actually landed in LaGuardia Airport, which I'm like, why are you going to LaGuardia? Don't go to LaGuardia. That's the worst airport you can ever fly into. It's like an aircraft carrier, And then he's walking around. He's like, oh, that's Dawson Mercer's dad. I talked to him before.
Yeah, seen him in the Devils store earlier today, actually.
Yeah, they're down here.
He's an Atlantic Canadian, right? And I'm an Atlantic Canadian, so kind of recognize the accents and just kind of look like somebody from my area. I said, hey, man. I said, you from Newfoundland? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm Dawson Mercer's dad. I'm like, well, pleased to meet you.
That's very cool. And I often wonder what the Colorado Avalanche following is like in that part of your country, just because 20 years ago, they were the team. Everybody loved Joe Sakic. He was Mr. Sakic. So I wonder, the following, if Dawson Mercer coming down, his parents coming down to see the Avalanche in person, just there seems to be something special about Devils Avalanche, even all those years later. What are we, 25 years removed from the Brodeur versus Waugh days? Probably even more than that. We're old. But, I like this matchup, and I would travel to see it too. I'm not over it either, and I was only like 5.
I'm still not over 2001. You know what really stinks? I tried all those years. I had season tickets to try to get into the Devils Stanley Cup video. I wound up getting into the 2001 Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup video. So I didn't get in 95, I didn't get in 2000, and I certainly didn't get in 2003. But somehow I landed myself in the 2001 Stanley Cup video. And I'm still with the conspiracy theory that it was all rigged for Ray Bourque. I know I'm just not over it.
Well, Sam, we've talked about that on this show many times. You're Mr. Conspiracy for Ray Bourque winning the Stanley Cup. The greatest Devils team of all time didn't win the Stanley Cup. They have 3 cups to their name. They came in a span of 9 years. I believe the 2001 Devils would mop the floor with the 03, 2000, and 95 Devils. I just do. That's my personal opinion. Or even the 2012 Devils, who also lost in the Stanley Cup final like the 01 Devils did. So that's a tough year to look back on for sure.
Yeah, and I also think the 94 Devils, people forget how great that team was. Unfortunately, they ran into a miracle team across the river, which I'm not going to. But if it wasn't for that Game 7 loss and that whole thing, I don't think 95 would have happened. And, with all the talk about the Devils leaving New Jersey to go to Nashville, I think things happen for a reason. And I'd take 3 cups over 1 any day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, was it Sam Rosen said this one will last a lifetime when the Rangers won the cup in 94, and then the Devils have won 3 since and been to 2 other finals. So, the history up until 2012 is nice, but when you see the Colorado Avalanche come into town even today, it's a nice little interconference rivalry. I mean, even Nathan McKinnon versus Taylor Hall in 2018 was outstanding. They chant Patrick's better in Colorado, and we chant Marty's better in New Jersey. Like, just the stuff that goes on between these two teams is always fun, and I'm very much looking forward to watching this game tonight. And I hope he sure plays.
Vinny, there used to be other chants in the stands 20, 25 years ago, but the world has changed quite a bit where we're not allowed to say those things about Patrick Waugh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're not going to say those things about Patrick Waugh anymore.
Yeah. About the broken door and all. Anyway, I'll stop now.
That's funny. Patrick Waugh was an interesting character, though. When he was a coach, that used to be like really funny. And I think when they were playing the Ducks, when he like tried to break through the glass and attack their coach, like he was just an interesting cat. But hey, having interconference.
Well, I'll tell you where Patrick
nice.
Waugh. I'll tell you where Patrick Waugh redeemed himself in my eyes, because I grew up before Marty Brodeur. You idolized Patrick Waugh. I mean, he was the number one goaltender in the league. Grant Fuhr, all these other famous goaltenders, but he was always a jerk. And then what he did to Brodeur in Nagano and just blowing him off. And then that 5:52 game, where Brodeur was going to break the record, or I think it was before that. I think he tied the record in Montreal, if I'm not mistaken, that Patrick Waugh made his way, or retired Patrick Waugh, and actually talked to Marty and said, "Hey, I'm sorry, but that was the competitor in me," and said nice things. And, that made it up, because he had a reputation of just being so competitive and so, I don't know. What's that word? Off the wall?
There are some guys who people like that about, like Michael Jordan. And there are some people that they don't like it about, like Patrick Waugh. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to win. And maybe Patrick Waugh wouldn't have won 3 Vezina trophies and 2 Stanley Cups and all the All-Star appearances and the accolades that he had decorate his career if he wasn't like kind of a jerk. And, if he would have been Mr. Nice Guy, maybe he would have allowed the other team to score a bunch of goals on him, and he would have never had the career that he did. So Patrick Waugh has my respect.
Well, Alan is going to head to the game because he's going to meet his boy, Ryan Graves. So thank you, Alan, for coming onto the podcast. And come back afterwards, because it's Taco Tuesday here at TAJ Lounge 973. So after the game, $2 tacos here. I know Alan's going to be here.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'm going to be
sure.
here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You guys got to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Alan, thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, very good.
Thank you, Alan.
Enjoy the game.
Yep.
Very much looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is Alan, little fire boy from YouTube Live, follows us. He's probably going to follow us on his phone as he's racing to the Prudential Center to see his idol, Ryan Graves, and the rest of the Devils.
That's a loyal fan right there.
Loyal. I mean, we have fans on this podcast that I get emails from and messages from Australia. You get messages from out in Europe. Actually, we do very well in Eastern Europe. And, when things are happening overseas right now, what's going on in Ukraine, I was looking and it's like, wow, 3% to 5% of our podcast downloads actually comes from there. Hockey is a very, tight-knit community. And, what Jaromir Jagr is doing right now, I'm sure they're raising a lot of money to help those folks out there in Ukraine.
Yeah, I love seeing what Jaromir Jagr is doing. He was an idol of mine as a player. And the fact that we got, 2.5 years of Jagr in New Jersey. And then, my brother's a diehard Bruins fan, and he played for the Bruins for half a season there. I love Jagr. He's always been one of my favorites as a player. And so seeing what he's doing now, with all the charitable work and the stuff in Ukraine and all that, he's just a good dude. And I love seeing him play hockey, and I hope he continues playing professionally. I mean, he's just one of the all-time great players. When he goes to the Hall of Fame, I've often wondered if they'll retire his number league-wide, just because, who retires Jagr's number? And, he's
that
one of the more
special to him, because he picked that number because of his grandfather. fighting the Soviets in Czechoslovakia, and don't forget Alexander McGillney picking 89 for a reason. When he came to North America, you hear the stories. Even Sergei Brylin, former Devil, used to talk about reusing hockey tape, because they were there was just not much to go around. So
yeah,
but
and can you think of a player who was more all-time great than Jágr that played for more teams? Because like when you think of the all-time greatest players, Bobby Orr had like a stint with the Blackhawks, but he mostly played with the Bruins. Wayne was with the Oilers, Rangers, and Kings. I know he had the stint with the Blues, but that don't count. Who had the other? Gordie Howe with the Red Wings. I think he played for the Hartford Whalers for a cup of coffee so he could play with his son. But, Jágr played for like 8 different teams. So, you can combine that with how great he was, with how charitable he is, with what the number actually means to him and his historical stuff. I mean, he might be the greatest European player ever. So it'd be cool to see the NHL do that for him.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And looking at this menu here at TAJ Lounge 973, it's across the street from Prudential Center, 35 Edison Place. They got lobster dinner. Pick 2 sides. You've got mac and cheese, collard greens, potato salad. But you're a big fan of the lobster tails, right?
Oh yeah, I love seafood. So if I ever come to TAJ Lounge 973, I think my goal is to come there for a game next season. Do a show with you. I think the catfish would have to be the first thing I order. But if it was ever a Taco Tuesday, Sam Wu, I'm thinking I would have to do the catfish meal and at least try one taco. I mean, I'm not coming there when tacos are $2 and not having one. That's just not allowed.
Well, that's
against my religion.
That's after the game, Devil's After Dark, when we do our post-game podcast. Yeah. So, people can load up, after the game, and everyone's trying to, celebrate. You celebrate with $2 tacos here.
Yeah, I would definitely work off the catfish meal during the Devils game while I'm standing there chanting, making videos and all that, and I'll be hungry enough for some $2 tacos by the time the game is over. There's no doubt about it.
Well, this is my exercise routine when I go inside, right? So I go to the game. If you're going to work off some of the stuff that you hear, you go up the stairs and you see Bryce and Erica upstairs near the season ticket lounge. That's what I do. Each period, you work it off, and then you come back here, TAJ Lounge 973, for a beer and $2 tacos because it's Taco Tuesday. And enjoy a Devils After Dark, a post-game podcast. Anyway, so today, Devils take on the Avalanche. They've got a lot of firepower, Vinny. Puck control is going to be an absolute mandatory memo coming out from Lindy Ruff and the coaching staff. I think the Devils are ready for this type of game. I think they have a lot to prove. I think they've been underachievers all season, but we're seeing Jesper Bratt come into his own. You're seeing Jack Hughes starting to he is putting up points. Ty Smith is an interesting one. Ty Smith, well, it's one game. It seems like the benching and letting him watch the game upstairs is certainly working.
Do we remember when they benched Jesper Bratt in the first week of the season this year? I think people forget that. I think people forget that happened. Jesper Bratt played a terrible game. I want to say it was the Columbus Blue Jackets. Just an awfully brutal game. And then he came back.
Yeah.
Hasn't been the same player since, in a good way.
I mean, yeah.
No.
You can't lose to them,
Yeah. Colorado, though, you nailed it. I think Hischier playing is like monumental. If he doesn't play, then I'm I'm nervous anyway because the Avalanche are who they are. But if Hischier plays, I think him and McLeod have like a big role because they have 2 extremely elite scoring lines over there in Colorado. I mean, people think of Rantanen, McKinnon, and Landeskog, and that's been the trio driving the bus over there in Denver for 3 or 4 seasons now. And then they got Makar on the back end, who might be the best skating defenseman since Bobby Orr. And I know Erik Karlsson's in the mix, and Scott Niedermayer is in the mix in terms of just pure skating defenseman. But man, Cale Makar is so good. and he's hard to contain when you're playing against him. So if you put Michael McLeod out there to just try and stop this guy as best you can. Same thing with Heischer, and then you let Jack Hughes do his thing. It's hard because this year they have Nazem Kadri, who's going to be a top 10 Hart Trophy candidate potential this year. I mean, he's been that good this season. You know, he won't even come close to winning it because he's like the fourth best player on their team, maybe even fifth. And that's saying something because he has just been outstanding. So I like what you said, puck possession, protect the puck, do what you can to be careful with it. Don't turn it over. And, you know, make good choices because this Colorado Avalanche team will make you pay if you don't. They seem to destroy everyone they play when they win. So,
also, Chico Resch and Matt Loughlin will not be in the booth today because today at the game it is what do they call it here? It's an all-female digital broadcast tonight. Kelly Schultz. She's a play-by-play for a Division I college team, and Erica Ayala will be in the booth as well as part of Gender Equality Night at the Rock. So I'm going to be listening to that at the game. It's going to be weird because I'm going to have my phone, I'm going to have my AirPods in, I'm going to go inside, I'm going to observe all that kind of stuff. What are your thoughts, Vinny?
Yeah, I think that's really cool. You know, I saw the jerseys.
Did you see those warm-up jerseys? Did you see them?
Yeah. The jerseys they're wearing they're really cool. And the Devils just put a feature. It was right before we went live here on the girl who designed them. And man, she's an incredible artist. So shout out to all the women out there who make our lives great and make hockey great. And I'm excited. I am probably actually going to check the first period on the radio. And I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be awesome to hear how they sound, and I'm sure they're going to do a great job. I'm very much looking forward to it. And most importantly, congratulations to them. They deserve this opportunity to call the game. You know, I love Chico. He's a great friend of this show and us. But, you know, this is awesome news.
Actually, Kelly Schultz, the one that's going to be filling in for Matt Loughlin, play-by-play, just messaged us. Would love to come on to the podcast. So see if I can sneak her over for Devils After Dark after the game, and you know, maybe I'll just stop by and say hello to her. But anyway, all right. So Tuesday night predictions. This is I got it right last game. I got it right.
You did get it right last game. So you have two perfect predictions, and I have one. You passed me. So I'm gonna try. I want the Devils to beat the Avalanche so bad. The only game I want them to win more the rest of the season than tonight is their game against the Bruins on the March 31st. So like I'm gonna pick the Devils to win. I want the Devils to win this game so bad. I'll go 5-4 New Jersey Devils. It's got to be a barn burner. I mean, McKinnon's gonna do what he does, and I don't know if you're gonna be able to completely contain that team with the weapons that the Devils have on defense. And Dawes is going to see shots that he hasn't seen in a while. So I'll say 5-4 New Jersey.
I'm going to go bold here. I think the Colorado Avalanche is going to be a little tired. They're going to be slacking off, and they're thinking, meow, meow, we're playing the New Jersey Devils. But the New Jersey Devils are going for the jugular tonight. I'm calling it 8-4 victory over the Colorado Avalanche. 8-4. Call me
That's
crazy, but you know there was one game that it was a high score, and I almost got it, except for it went into overtime, and that screwed up my plans.
Yeah, you're crazy, but like that's not why you're crazy. No, I'm kidding. I hope you're right. You know, they have the ability to be explosive offensively. Their goals per game is right up there with a lot of the playoff teams. But what makes them a bottom feeder in the Metropolitan Division right now is their goals against totals, and they haven't been great. Nico Dawes has been good. We'll see how he handles the Avalanche tonight.
Yeah. So, all right. So those are our Tuesday night predictions. Just remember, Devils After Dark will be after the game here at TAJ Lounge 973 across the street from Prudential Center after the Devils Avalanche game concludes. It's great to be back here, Vinny. Great to be back here. I mean, you know, doing this remote and all that, hopefully all that's over, you know, all that jazz. But it's great to be back. Also, Lil Fireboy, thank you for coming on to the podcast. Also want to give a shout out to, again, Kelly Schultz, who messaged us back. Maybe we can get her on the podcast afterwards. I'm not sure. We'll have to figure that one out. And all of the Devils parents out there. We talked to Mason Geertson's grandma. She's a fan of the podcast. And we also have Stephanie Dawes as well, that, obviously is Nico Dawes' mom. She follows the podcast as well. Ryan Graves' dad, Ron Graves as well. So it's a one big family here. But it's going to be a good game, Vinny. So I'm just going to hit the music right here. But we'll be back after the game for Devils After Dark. Scotty is SiriusXM, Liquid Metal, and I will recap the game that was again here at TAJ Lounge 973. We got drafts. We got bottles of beer, buckets of beer. We've got $2 tacos because it's Taco Tuesday. I want to thank T and the staff for hosting us. I'll try the lobster tails a little later. But till next time, let's go Devils.